Hi guys, it's Carolyn here with the Hillside Market. Today I'm going to get more in-depth with soil blocking with you guys. I'm going to show you guys how I actually make my soil blocking mix, and I will also take you along with me while I sow some eucalyptus seeds. So this will be a very good introduction into actually doing soil blocking and how to actually mix everything together and actually make the blocks and sow the seeds. So I'll kind of give you guys my tips and tricks along the way. Hopefully you guys like it. If you have any questions or comments as I go through the video, just pop them in the comments below and I'll be sure to reply to them. Alright, so we're gonna hop right into it. So as I'm going through this, I'll touch on some of the tools that you should have. This is just a tub I found. It's actually for dishes, for restaurants, dirty dishes. I found it at our local box store. Anyways, so it works awesome. Potato masher. This is one of the tips I picked up from the gardener's workshop. It's the potato masher, and it works beautifully as advertised. I would definitely recommend this. This is just some leftover mix that I'm just going to work into the next batch, so you don't have to worry about what's already in here. Okay, so this is how I go about doing my mix. So first order of business, I use a sieve, and we're gonna put our potting mix into here. So I personally just go to the hardware store and buy a potting mix. I look at the ingredients just to kind of see what's in it, and I would recommend you guys do the same thing, but just a good potting mix from your hardware store, because I had a hard time finding other alternatives that other recipes used or required or were calling for, I suppose. And potting mix was readily available. So I have to count as I do this, because it is 16 cups of potting soil. So that was 2, 3. So right now I'm just breaking up the clumps further so I can get the most out of my potting soil. And the purpose of doing this is because the soil blocks are so tiny, and some of this stuff is actually quite big. Like a soil block on the mini soil block is only 3/4 by 3/4. So some of this stuff is pretty big, and this will totally just ruin the integrity of your soil blocks, and this is what will cause you to have soil blocks that crumble apart. So like, look at all the nasty that came out of there. So we'll get that out of there. And this looks beautiful. So nice. Okay, now I don't use compost. I actually use worm castings as a replacement, because I can't find bagged compost here, and I do not have a compost pile of my own. So worm castings, it's 4 cups. I'll include the actual recipe below too as well in the description. And then we're going to add Rock Phosphate, and this is a 1/4 cup. And Greensand, and it's the same thing, it's a 1/4 cup. All right, let's get this mixed up. Stir everything together. It's like baking. You gotta mix all the dry ingredients before you add the wet ingredients. And I see I have a couple of big sticks in there, so pluck those out. Most of these clumps of this dried stuff will all break apart once I add some moisture and just work this a little bit. All right. So the biggest thing with soil blocking is getting the water to dry mix ratio right. And it is, sorry, it is 3 parts dry mixture. So 3 parts dry mixture to 1 part water. So this is a total of 20 cups, or 20.5 cups. So you're going to want to do 1/3 of that as water. So luckily I have a system, but my watering can here actually is the perfect amount of water. And this is actually the watering can I use to water all my soil blocks. I prefer this watering can because it has such a small spout, and it's really easy to be precise when I'm watering all my trays. and it makes a minimal mess with water on the floor, which is kind of the goal. Stir this all together. Oh yeah, that's looking awesome. Oh, it feels so good to be doing this, you guys. It's been a year since I've started soil blocking for the first time. I started soil blocking for the first time in January of 2022. And I can honestly say that it was a raging success, and my crops, my flowers, just, they grew amazingly. If you want to see photos of my gardens or videos, head on over to my Instagram page and you'll see lots of content there in relation to all of my flowers. So the reason that I'm teaching you guys this, or choosing to teach you guys, is mostly because I'm not trying to educate other flower farmers, because I'm not even a flower farmer, but what I'm trying to do here is just teach other people like me that are just hobbyists and have interests in dabbling with this kind of stuff, and try to explain things to you guys in layman's terms, like that you don't need to be an expert to understand what I'm trying to explain. Anyways, so soil blocking mixture is done. I'm going to get the soil blocker ready and my tray ready, and I will show you guys what that looks like. So moving into the next step, we're going to take our soil blocker and we're going to fill it with our soil blocking mix. So the trick to this is to really make sure that your soil blocker is full. So that looks pretty good. And then I usually just use my finger to like scrape off anything extra. Just like that. And we'll pop it on the tray. I can't remember which way I do these normally. I think it's this way. It is this way. Make sure you get a good press on it. And there you have it. Your first soil blocks. If you're looking for a little bit more information on soil blocking, I'd encourage you just to check out my first video in regards to soil blocks. I touched a bit more on like the pros and cons and the why would you want to use this and those types of comments and questions. This video is just covering the more of the actual how to do it portion of it, and it's maybe a little less informative in regards to the info behind soil blocking. I also forgot to mention earlier, if you're wondering where I purchased like my rock sand and my Greensand, I actually bought them on Amazon. And if you go on my website, www.thehillsidemarket.com, you'll find I have my Amazon shop linked there. And it's also in my Linktree link, which is in my bio on my Instagram. And in my bio on YouTube as well, and I'll include that link down below in the description here too. And that will have the link to all of my stuff. Alright, so that is the first tray of soil blocks done, ready to be planted. Now we can start seeding. I'll take you guys through that process. Alright, so now we're going to move into actually sowing the seeds in the soil blocks. This is actually how up close and personal I get when I do it, because some of these seeds are so tiny and the dirt is dark, obviously. So it's a lot less eye strain for me if I just get right down and nice and close. And then I also have some overhead light that I use too, just to reduce eye strain and make my life a lot easier. Also, it just definitely speeds things up if I am not squinting and finding a hard time seeing. So I'm about to sow my eucalyptus seeds. I also have included in the link tree, there's a link, an affiliate link to West Coast Seeds if you're curious. Try these eucalyptus seeds out as well. This is the Silver Dollar Tree eucalyptus variety. I guess I also never mentioned to you guys that I am in zone 3. So that's also worth noting. Just because it changes, if your growing zone obviously changes like your ability to grow certain things, especially perennials. There's only so many perennials that are actually hardy to zone 3. So a lot of stuff may be a perennial in other zones, but every year I have to regrow it here. So I literally use there's all the seeds. I literally use like a little scrap piece of plastic. It was what I had some metal hooks in, and I dumped my seeds into it. I don't know if it will. I was trying to see if I could show you guys. Anyways, I use this little plastic container with some seeds in it, and I use a toothpick. And the easiest way to do this, wet the toothpick, go into your container, and pick up a seed. And once you've picked up a seed, again, I wish my camera would be focusing for me, but once you've picked up a seed, you'll go right to your soil block and transfer it into your soil block. And all you're doing is literally just barely touching the soil block, and that seed is releasing into there right away. And sometimes the toothpick will pick up multiple seeds. With practice, you can lay down multiple seeds at a time in individual soil blocks. Like right now, I just picked up 3, and I just laid them down in 3 different soil blocks. The challenge with soil blocking is keeping track of where you finished last, in my opinion, especially with these tiny, tiny, tiny little black seeds. Each of these blocks holds 20 plants. So I just planted 20 eucalyptus seeds, just like that, in this one tiny little square. They will barely take up any space, which is incredible. I have 2 packets of these, so I will also be opening up the other packet and planting those right now. I think you guys will find seed starting actually quite enjoyable, like soil blocking specifically. I find it really relaxing. I come down here, I turn my music on. Usually the rest of my family likes to follow and hang out too, which is fun. My youngest daughter, I make little toothpick flags to label all of the squares, like all of the soil block squares, to which variety is planted. And my oldest daughter loves making the little flags for me, which is awesome because it's kind of a pain in my butt, to be honest. And I'll just keep sewing these. So now once these are done, I'll cover them with plastic to help with germination. And you'll want to look, depending on what plant you're starting, whether it's vegetables or flowers, you'll want to see if they require light for germination, or if they need bottom heating as well, like heat mats, if heat mats are a requirement. So eucalyptus specifically does prefer to have bottom heating as well as light for germination. So I fired up my grow lights, and I'm going to place this tray under my grow lights, and I also plugged in a heat mat, so it's going to go on a heat mat as well. I'll show you guys where I'm going to be putting my tray under the grow lights and the heat lamp, or on the heat mat. And I will be doing a video sometime soon, just expanding on my grow setup indoors here for seed starting, so that you guys can see what I'm working with. And yet again, I know I touched on this earlier about my Amazon shop, but if you are at all interested in anything that you see seed starting related, I've also included my grow shelf, my grow lights, my heat mats. It's all on there. So yeah, anyways, I will take you guys on over and get this set up under the grow light, and I think that's pretty well it. I just wanted to take one more quick second to show you guys just what I meant about making my little flags, because a lot of people, I'm sure, will be thinking, like, what's the best way to label all of your plants to keep track? So I literally just take a toothpick with some painter's tape, make a little flag, and then I will write on here just what I'm planting. So this one is eucalyptus, so it's eucalyptus. And it's the silver dollar tree is what I grew, or what I'm planting. And we could put the date, which is January 18th, which is, it's always a good idea to keep track of the date for sowing seeds, especially if you're looking at continuing to grow and experiment with growing. This way you'll know if maybe you sowed too early or too late. You'll actually have a date to go back on, so you can improve for future. So let's stick this in here. I got to make one more for the other square, and then I'll take it over to the grow shelf and pop it in. All right, so just popping that last flag in. One last thing I wanted to mention is, I'm sure you guys are wondering, well, you didn't plant anything in the other soil blocks. No, you're right, I didn't. So one thing that I did last year that actually worked really well for me, and again, I am not a professional grower. I'm just growing for myself, really, and I'm looking to sell some cut flowers just locally, but I'm not looking to be large scale. So I'm really just looking at teaching other people like me that are just DIY enthusiasts, hobbyists, or people that just really enjoy having a lot of projects on the go all the time. I'm looking at teaching people like that want to just experiment with it and try something new. But what worked for me is I would, every time that I did soil blocks, I always filled my tray with all of the blocks. Even if I didn't plant them, I just left them unflagged, and I knew that I didn't plant anything with them. And when I was ready to plant something in them, I would just bottom water and rehydrate and mist the top of the soil blocks to rehydrate them all, and then just plant into them, and it wasn't an issue. If for some reason, like the rest of the plants that are on the tray are way too far ahead in like their lifespan already to start planting something else, then what I can do is I can just take these soil blocks off, or I could even take the ones that are already growing and doing well off and put them on a different tray too. But I just, in my mind, if I'm making the soil blocks and filling I might as well fill the tray anyways. And in my experience, it did not cause any problems. Again, take that with a grain of salt, because not an experienced grower. Last year was my first growing season, and that could, my opinion on this could change. I can't say for sure. So just behind me is my grow shelf, and I will be putting all of my soil blocks on this grow shelf. I turned on my heat mat and my grow lights, and from here on out I will be watering twice a day, especially with with a grow mat, because it does have a tendency to dry out these mini soil blocks quite quickly. So I'll be watering twice a day. I am actually out of plastic right now at home, so when I go back to town later today, I'll be picking up some more saran wrap to cover this tray and keep that humidity level up. That should hopefully prevent me from having to water twice a day, but if the blocks are drying out too quickly, then I'll need to water twice a day. If you choose not to use plastic to cover your trays, I would suggest that you still mist them just until everything is germinated. Thanks for taking the time to watch my video. I hope you guys liked what you saw and you learned something new about soil blocking, and that you feel confident enough to give it a try. Please do follow. I'm looking forward to posting more content for you guys and taking you along during my growing season in 2023.